everyone, Ivy League Gaming here, and today we're playing Dragonheir, Silent Gods. For today's video, I'm going to go through and go over another Continental Challenge boss. This time we're going to take a look at the Lightning one. Today's video is sponsored by Dragonheir Silent Gods, my favorite sponsor because it's my favorite game that I've played in a long time. Be sure to join us for Season 3, Dive Deep, Battle Peak. There's a ton of new heroes, new bosses, and lots to explore. Be sure to download via Android, iOS, Mac, PC, Steam, or Epic Games if you haven't already, and use the currently working promo codes. Alright, so if you haven't seen it, I already posted a video for the Necrosis boss that is weak against fire damage. In that video, I'm going to do the same thing as I do here, where I'm going to take a look at the boss skills, break down the elements we need, and give advice as an overall boss guide. Then I'm going to take my best team, as OP or not OP as it may be, and we're going to see how it does. So this is a little bit of a mixture of a guide and a showcase. It's not about the specific champions I'm going to use. We will kind of talk about alternatives, but really it's about learning how to beat the boss. Will the position matter? Will like certain buffs or debuffs be necessary? That's the stuff we're gonna look at for this video first before I go into just playing with my team. And so for my account right now, I really pushed my Fire and Radiant Psychic Core, so it makes the most sense for me to do a team. Now I don't have the most OP rally heroes, so I think my aura could do better, but hell, maybe my rally people could do better. But you know what? I don't have them built right now. I have my aura people built, so I think we're gonna play with an aura comp and see what we can do. So radiant damage taken by the boss will be increased by 100%. Let's go ahead and fast travel to this boss. Here we are. Here he is, Chaos Shadow Lightning Boss. Alright. View info. So, passive, the monster can switch between shield form and sword form to gain different skill effects. Shield form, basic attacks deal lightning damage to enemies. Sword form, basic attacks deal lightning damage to the current target. So it's a single. So this is our boss that is the same as like the ancient battlefield boss. I think, I don't know 100%, I guess we'll keep reading, but I know it's like kind of the same idea. So again, also immune to control effects, which is kind of a bummer. It's kind of fun when we can like control these bosses, but you know, not in this case. We can't normally, so it is what it is. All right, shield form, for this enemy gets stunned. Yes, this is ancient battlefield. If the debuff fails to be inflicted or is dispelled within its duration, the monster will then take lightning damage and enter backfire for 10 seconds. Backfire reduces damage dealt by 20% and increases damage taken by 20%. So this is like the debuff that was used in the end game boss of Season 2. So that's what backfire may sound familiar. So if the debuff fails to be inflicted, aka whoever is the furthest away from the boss needs to have resistance to not get stunned. So as they recommend, at least 250 resistance. Alright, so in sword form, deals lightning damage to the enemy with the highest attack, ignoring 30% of their defense and their shield effect. So if there's a shield, it's going to ignore their shield. Whoever has the highest attack. So we're going to have to watch out and make sure that we don't have anyone getting like one shot. Next up here we have shield form. Switches to sword form and gains 30% attack up. Meanwhile, all debuffs on the hero are dispelled. So this is, he's gaining attack and then dispelling debuffs. So this is again, just like Ancient Battlefield, where if you have buff prohibition on the boss, then you don't have to worry because he won't put this buff up in the first place. He'll dispel debuffs afterward, so you're at least covered to prevent the attack up. Or of course you can remove it after. In sword form, he's going to do damage, then dispel all buffs on them. gaining a stack based on how many buffs, blah, blah, blah. And then gaining defense up. So just like Ancient Battlefield, yet again, you do not want to have heroes go in that put up a bunch of buffs. Simple enough. So shields are good for the most part, except this one part of the skill will ignore shields. All right, and then again, we're going to go into the same skill with the shield form, sword form, stunning, alternate thing here. This is a 20-second rotation boss. That's easier. And again, here, we're going to go back to the buff placement. So he kind of alternates his skills over a 20-second rotation. Okay, so this is where your Voreshes are gonna... Wait, this is lightning. Haha, radiant boss. Okay, so this is where we have to look at who is going to be ideal for this boss, because we don't have as many options. I would say there's gonna be limited options here. Let's take a look. So we want to prevent buffs with buff prohibition. There's no radiant heroes that do that. So you're going to be looking at a fire hero as support for that role. So like Victor is perfect if you happen to get a Victor. He's really good for this. And he's part of the synergy with lightning and radiance. Just keep in mind, like, you don't need to have full synergy. At the end of the day, you don't need to have all radiant heroes just because they're the ones that do more damage. When it comes to the support side of things, the support or the tank, you're not worried about the damage, so who cares how much damage dealt? You're just cared about getting that 5-man synergy bonuses if you have it. So Victor or Garrica, perfect for this. Or Ferrara or Liko. Or Livia as a rare. Oh, interesting. I forgot about her. I don't even think I scrolled down when I did the other video. But this is kind of what we're going to be looking for. Buff block, or let's go down here. Stealing of buffs, again, Dane is going to be good. He could dispel the buffs if we can't prevent them. Buff dispelling. And again, Holdork as well, just like we talked about in the last video. We can use Zephy. Oh no, that's not radiant, that's lightning. Okay. There's, again, no radiant heroes, right? No radiant heroes still that even do the buff dispelling. So it definitely makes it interesting. So again, you're going to be with Dane or Ferrara for your needs. I think Ferrara is kind of perfect because she can dispel two buffs on her ultimate and prevent buffs with her battle skills. So I might actually build my Ferrara if I can for this boss, if I have enough resources. And then what else do we need? We want support that are going to not put up buffs. So Hexandra, if you're doing a not 5-man synergy, she can work as a healer. Cinderella does 1 buff, so that could come in at a bad time. That would have to be timed properly. We know we love our friend Garius. Garius can definitely come in here for this, but he does put up 1 buff of hit recovery here. So that's not ideal, honestly, for this boss, but it's something we might have to deal with because of limited options. Again, Rose is great, but she puts enlightenment up on herself too. So is she going to be an ideal candidate for support? I'm not sure, but I might have to try her in this team depending on who else I'm able to use. We have Elminster with control immunity on all allies, so that's another one we don't want to use. Oh boy, Asilia is going to be a debuff immunity hero, so again, all buffs. So this is really hard. It's actually very limiting. And same thing here. She puts defense up to allies on her battle skill. This buff is permanent and cannot be dispelled. I think that this buff of blessing is okay versus the boss. The permanent ones, I think, are okay. I could be wrong. But yeah, this is where it comes in as a discussion of the proper supports to use, because it's actually quite hard. Liko might actually be a pretty good shout, but then, no, Liko's the funny one because she puts up buff prohibition and dispels a buff, but only if she has buffs. And you don't want buffs for Ancient Battlefield, so that's why we're not going to use Liko. I kind of wish we had a better opportunity for some healers that could do that. Like, the thing with Liko, I wish she would be great because she heals with her battle skill. But that's not going to be good for this at all. I might actually have to build Linkos here as another DPS, though, for Aura. So that's another discussion. All right, let's actually take a look at who I'm going to have for my team and go on in here and see how we can do. All right, I think people are getting away with the, like, 3 DPS teams. This is going to be really hard, though, because... All right, so Fire Necrosis, this is my team. I'm kind of regretting... No, I'm not regretting using Victor. He was really good here. But now I kind of wish I had Victor for the other boss that uses lightning. Victor ended up being my tank for the Fire Necrosis. Let's take a look at who we can use. Just a quick shout if you're just looking for a tank for this boss and you want someone that can give you a little bit of utility, at least with the attack penalty and the battle skill, Horus is a decent shout as long as you don't use his ultimate with all these buffs. Just something to consider if you're looking for a tank. Adolphus is a really good shout for this boss as well. Alright, so I actually decided to go with a rare hero for my Aura team. So Sikal here can hit 2 times on his ultimate. So I figured that would be good enough for Witch's Remains. I don't really have any multi-hitters I'd want to use except for Rose, but she's another one for support that would be putting up buffs, and I think we can get away without it. Now, the reality is going to be, can I get away without attack penalty? This team does not have attack penalty. We have some debuffs, but accuracy penalty, not attack penalty. That might not work. So I might find that I have to, like, take out someone like Sikal and put in Rose instead to stay alive. But I wanted to run this first and see if we can survive with 3 DPS. I'm honestly not sure. So Sikal is here built for damage with crit rate and attack stats here. And then also enough accuracy for Witch's Remains. My main DPS is going to be Theoine and the Ravatrix Roots, which is just so good and been such a game changer. I do have fancy gloves here that are crit rate and ignoring the enemy's defense. So she's built for damage. Then we have Diantha in here, also built kind of for damage, but also more supporting everybody else as well with the organ pipe attack. And again, the defense penalty, special gloves, but this is a flat attack one, but hey, it's still a really good bonus. Ferrara here is going to be our one with high resistance. So I was able to get resistance. I think one of my pieces, this staff has a quad resistance roll, so that's going to be fun. Now, the only thing here I kind of failed at was getting an HP percentage chest, but at least I got gloves. So the Mona Lisa set will just help provide a little extra healing. Not really needed probably, but with Garius being so good, but hey, it is what it is. I do have the Hourglass here for extra skill haste, so she can come to this buff prohibition as much as possible. We are probably going to time or dispelling of buffs here though, as well. So let's go into that. Of course, we do have Garius in the Gatekeeper staff. He also has this chance. So, okay, this is actually something I should talk about as far as tips go. So this armor, when the wearer gains a buff, there's a 50% chance that it can be undispellable. So when he gives himself the hit recovery buff, if the boss doesn't dispel it, then we don't have to worry about that hole going against us. So that's actually really going to be helpful for something like this or Ancient Battlefields. And then, of course, we have Garius, yeah, Gatekeeper, Ancestral Protection, yada, yada, yada. All right, so let's go into our timings. All right, so I've set this up. We're going to see if this works with everyone on a 20-second rotation for the boss rotation of 20 seconds. And I'm going to try to have the DPS go in order so that Witch's Remains on our rare is placed first. And then Diantha here can do her skill before Theon goes. So she's going to go right after. That's kind of my setup. We're going to have Ferrara block or dispel the first set of buffs after the boss puts those up with the second skill and keep that on rotation, and then hope that her battle skill can time well otherwise. And we're going to have Garius go before the final skill here to help keep us alive, hopefully, because if the boss does have this up and Ferrara isn't going well with her battle skill, which we cannot time, then we want some extra protection. So this is what I'm going to try. I don't honestly know if I'm going to need to put in someone like Rose to help with attack penalty instead, but we're gonna roll with this. And I don't know if Aura is gonna be our top tier damage exactly, but hey, it's kind of fun to have a good excuse to use the rare, honestly. And here you can briefly see our plan, which is pretty OP overall, but nowhere near perfect. Based on my gear, I'm pretty limited still for most of my runes and non-venom sets. And just a final reminder, this is not necessarily about trying to, you know, tell you to use OP champions. This is just me trying to do my best I can do on my account after we talked about all the things we need. I'm going to go ahead and use the defense aura. If you had trouble getting enough resistance for your person furthest away from the boss, then I would suggest that you use the resistance aura from Ferrara if you are using her. I'm actually going to put her here instead as well. All right, let's roll. All right, and as we saw, yeah, everyone died a little early, so this team definitely needs more support. Garius can't do it all on his own. Sometimes he can, sometimes he can't. Maybe with a little bit different gear, I could have that happen, but unfortunately, this team is far from perfect and the damage is a little low. So this is something I would work on and see if I can do better with another alternative. Alright, and for the sake of survivability, I'm bringing in our Dreth to pair with Garius instead of our extra DPS. Now, our Dreth is actually in Witch's Remains, and yes, it does work. So she's also in a Puppeteer set, which also grants her accuracy, so that doesn't hurt here. She's gonna boost everyone's defense around her, And that's going to be just some extra help, and there's some extra healing thrown in there as well. And just for shits and giggles, I actually gave her gloves that can help give a tiny bit of damage, which have crit rate rolls and do extra damage when the enemy is under defense penalties. So she's going to be a lot of fun to have in the mix here, and I'm going to let her full YOLO, but we're going to have to go edit our skill timings briefly. So this is fine. We're going to go 20-second rotation here. Again, Ferrara can block the first set, and we're going to have to hope that the second set is, you know, again, covered just by all the damage mitigation we've got on this team. Still no attack penalty in this team, but I'm hoping bringing in our Dreth instead can be the case, or good enough, I should say. So let's change our aura to the better version for our Dreth and see how we do. Alright, and I do think Rally is a much better option versus this boss than Aura. Aura isn't crazy damage. They're more made to be AoE heroes overall than against a single target boss. But hey, you hit the 22 mil with a team like this, and it's really not too bad. I mean, a lot of people probably have Garius and Ardreth, and Ferrara's just an epic. Theowen again, just an epic, and then I have Diantha as an enabler, plus a little damage, but you could probably get away with using the rare instead and still hit 22 million, or one of the other epics. You just gotta be careful not to use the ones that have a ton of buffs, which is the problem. So I kind of like that rare, actually. That's something I could test, but for sake of this video, I just wanted to showcase and hit our goal, and we did. So I hope this video was helpful and fun for you guys to see me troubleshooting our boss here a little bit, and yeah, I will see you in the next video. Be sure to download via Android, iOS, Mac, PC, Steam, or Epic Games if you haven't already, and thanks again to Dragonheir Silent Gods for sponsoring today's video.